My name is Kathryn Lynam and I am a student at La Trobe University, student number 19092826. My participants for this study was a group of mine site workers on an even time roster, usually 7 and 7 or 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And their learning outcomes was on Australian dietary guidelines, the servings required, and the 5 food groups. The changes I made to assessment 2B was I added an infographic. Well, typically, mine site workers use a buffet challenge when they're on site, and the buffet challenge is to eat as many things from the buffet as they can. I've created a new buffet challenge where they should be trying to consume within the dietary guidelines, so our servings of grains, dairy, meat, veg, fruit. Secondly, I noticed that I didn't finish or round up part of assessment 2. So as through the training, I got participants to fill in these. At the end, I didn't mention, which I did in the official training, that this then becomes your day or a date. So if you are really unsure what you need to do that day, take this, cross it off, use it, and it's a little skill to get you used to using the Australian guidelines. Thirdly, I put my MasterChef recipe in the take-home booklet, and many people were interested in it. So I put it in there and just said that you can add your own protein, eat it with some crusty bread, your choice, delicious meal. Fourth, I had an example of different foods that I would eat, which I have put in the report, pictures of. I took them and I just put them on the bench and just allowed people to go up and see them before and after, in which their understanding was so much different. Fifth, I mentioned some apps, one for maintaining water or water consumption and one for alcohol consumption. And 6, I mentioned some apps like MyFitnessPal, which you can measure your food and what you're taking in. Tools required for the day was my table, our booklet, which had some facts in there, and this is all attached to the report. My findings was that there is a genuine interest amongst the participants. I had some really good questions. What are good fats? Is sugar bad? Why should we eat a rainbow? Which I really loved. What a good question. And a question on processed meats. There's a lot of processed meats on site, and should they be consuming them, and how much? I did explain that it's a discretionary food, and same as sugar, try not to overconsume on that discretionary food so that we can get in all our Australian dietary guideline requirements. Lastly, sorry, I've wrote notes because I'm very forgetful. Lastly, overall, I'm really happy with the experience. I'm looking forward to seeing people again. The mine site's given me 6 weeks on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. to just go on and catch up with these people and reiterate, excuse me, talk about more things, any questions that they come up with. It will give me a chance to go back and research and then come back to them with some answers, which is great. Evaluation from the participants. They suggested that they would like longer to learn, so an hour and a half, but it would give them more time to ask questions. So typically we just run this session for 60 minutes, but it would be really good for more time. They indicated that the info session provided was important with the quantities. Most of them knew about the 5 food groups, but not a lot knew how much of each food group they should be consuming. So really great feedback to hear. All participants were committed to use the tool that was suggested, so that was great. That was 100% participation. Participants noted in their evaluation that, that what they should be consuming, so the amount of grains, dairy, fruit, and 100% of participants got this right. So this was really great to see that they learned, paid attention, and filled out the evaluation correctly. Last but not least, participants were interested in learning about the macronutrients. So next time I'm on site, I'm going to go and have a bit of talk about proteins, carbs and fats and how they're associated with the Australian dietary guidelines, and how grains give you your carbs and meats give you your proteins, and just to get that understanding and how they relate. Please read my report. This is the end of my video. Thank you for listening.